what a majestic week for you, Kshitij. Take a bow once again. 100-pointer.
First time
What
ever
a game
without
week for
double
you,
game
game
week.
week 5.
Whoop, whoop.
Without any chips, by the way, 100-pointer.
Without any chips, first ever time. That is
Salute.
something really. Hello and welcome to another episode of FPL Escapades. My name is Kshitij and I'm joined by Akshay and Anand after what has been a great game week personally from me from an FPL perspective. My transfer from Barnes to Son and patience with Timo Werner did pay off, giving me a century of an FPL score for the first time ever. So that has been great. Apart from Reece James, no one else in my squad disappointed me. Uh, but yeah, it would either have been James or Justin. All in all, 6 games out of the 10 which ended up in a draw, only 4 gave us results. Definitely again a goal fest of a game week. Anand, how did you fare this game week?
Uh, Pretty average, I guess. I had 71 points. So, although wanted a little bit more, but that's how it is. My captain was spot on. I had Bruno as my captain. Although I switched it in the last minute. I had Sterling as my captain, but then I just switched it to Bruno, and luckily both of them got equal points. Both of them got 11 points. So yeah, a decent game week.
Yeah, great man. The average being 60, 70 were not a bad score at all. Akshay, how are you doing, man? How was the game week 5 for you?
Not quite the game week I was hoping for because I ended up on 58 points. So not really disappointed because there are huge swings with big hauls here and there. So you might get lucky one week and not get lucky the other. So no point cribbing over low game week points. We have a long season ahead. So looking forward to the next game week and yeah, game week 6 could be a big one.
Absolutely, absolutely. And me personally, for being first time ever getting a great score, definitely feels like there it's definitely a roller coaster ride, and that is how I think FPL seasons have been. It has all majority of the time it has been low for me, but yeah, game week 5 has been great, and game week 6 absolutely can be a big one as well. So yeah, boys, let's get down to business and let's get into looking at the essential picks for game week 6. Yeah, so looking at the essentials, I mean, for me personally, my perspective, uh, Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't really blanked yet, has had, given returns in each of the game weeks. It is a little frustrating for me personally having him in my team and he's scoring a goal and not getting a bonus point. But yeah, definitely people can call me greedy for that, but definitely he's someone worth keeping in your team with his ownership as high as almost more than 54% right now. And Son, he's has the most goals scored along with DCL. When he's fit, he plays, and when he plays, he seems to give returns. He's got a pretty high NPXG and plus XA as well, only behind Kane and Mane. Kane, unfortunately, has been rising and seeming to get out of my reach, being an essential himself. But definitely, I would love to stick with Son, or I'm planning to stick with Son even after game week 8 when fixtures do get difficult for them. Coming on to defenders, this is not yet, but will eventually become really tricky with Trent Robertson, who we feel is essentials now. But with Liverpool losing out on Virgil van Dijk, I think there's only a matter of a couple of game weeks where we might or multiple managers might be wanting to make a switch from Robertson to any other defender and wanting to free up some cash for midfielders and forwards as well. But definitely in this game week 6, Sheffield United come to Anfield, and I don't think that is the correct time to get rid of any Liverpool asset, be it Salah, Mane, or Robertson or Trent. Yeah, so those are my essential picks. Akshay, what are your thoughts on the essentials for game week 6?
I think you were spot on with the Trent and Robertson analysis because Sheffield United have been really struggling in front of goal. And last night, if you look at the Champions League, the Liverpool faced Ajax and they got a clean sheet there. So you might call them lucky, but they managed to get a clean sheet there as well. So I don't see any point offloading Trent and Robertson right now. Although you might get greedy when you see Son and Kane performing like how they've been doing for Spurs, but personally a holder of Trent and Robertson myself. I'm holding that for right now, and I think they're going to haul in this game, and all the Trent owners who have been selling him will be punished. I hope that's proven right. Coming to Jimenez, I think DCL has taken over Jimenez's season ticker role, wherein Jimenez used to do that last season, scoring 6, 7, 6, 7, 8 points last season in every game, and DCL is doing that right now. So you can't really complain about the bonus points, because if a player is giving you 6 points on an average, you reach 66 without the captaincy, and that is good enough to win you the FPL if you manage to do that throughout the season. So yeah, he was really lucky. I am not sure how VAR missed that red card, because that was similar to something Son did last season, and he got really lucky with the goal as well, deflected off Calvin Phillips, and so Jimenez is a keep for me right now, because he's facing Newcastle, and I think Wolves might benefit there. And coming to Wolves, really impressed with Saiz at left wing back. Not really sure how if he's going to hold that position with the new signing Nouri, but he looked really impressive attacking wise. So him and Podence both got unlucky last game week. So I had Podence myself, and I was feeling gutted about that. But that's how FPL is. So, and talking about Wolves defenders again, Patricio looked amazing as a keeper. So he bagged another clean sheet, and I can see him bagging another clean sheet against Newcastle. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. With that said, I mean, like there has been really great VAR controversies in the last game week with Virgil van Dijk, and also how Jimenez got away and Jordan Pickford got away with red cards respectively. But yeah, that is a conversation for another time. Anand, you fancy Kane as an essential, being someone who I think does not own Kane yet.
Yeah, I do not own Kane, but I do think that you are correct. He has become an essential. He's topping all the stats, be it goal creation action or NPXG. He is right up there with even with midfielders. So that is something that everybody needs to keep an eye on. Plus, he has really good fixtures ahead. He's going to play Burnley, and he's also going to play West Brom very soon. So the fixtures are great for him, at least for the next 3 game week. Uh, Regarding midfielder, I think Sterling is the guy I feel can be explosive this week. With the likes of KDB returning, perhaps there is news coming from the Pep Guardiola press conference that he might be fit and he may join the team this weekend. So that is something which is a huge boost for both Sterling and Aguero as well. Regarding defenders, I think we've already discussed the three mentioned in the list, and I think all three have been pretty. Um, all three have looked lively, not throughout the game, but yeah, where there has been instances where even Trent has had some shots on target, and while he even crossed some good deliveries into the boxes. While Robertson is the standout guy, but you already covered that guy. I think one pick that I'm really excited about this week is Martinez. So post lockdown, Martinez was my favorite pick because I got him in my team for 4.2 last season post lockdown, and he was always on my bench, always giving 5 points. And in some of the matches, I also got him in and benched Pope because of what I believed in Martinez. Uh, but this season, unfortunately, in game week 2, I couldn't bring him in because I had Johnston, and I felt like it's better to keep faith in him. Uh, Although in the last week Johnson did repay that bit, but I was really not feeling happy about not having Martinez in my team. So I used my free transfer and got in Martinez, and so that's the pick I'm really looking forward to. And I think these guys are already they have already started becoming part of a template squad, barring maybe Jimenez. But even Jimenez has a good ownership of 20%. So these players are looking really sharp. At the same time, are part of a lot of FPL teams. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about essentials, like four of these nine players who we have on the screen, Kane, Son, Salah, and Sterling, all are like really deserved of the captain's armband, which we'll talk about in the later stages of the episode when we discuss about our strategies going into game week 6. And yeah, with that, it's been great, crisp analysis of the essentials going into game week 6. And moving on, we now go and take a look at the differentials for the upcoming game week. Yeah, and looking at the differentials, I mean, it's really great to see Aguero get back in the mix. He started the last game, played 60 minutes, got subbed out, and also started the Champions League match last night. Definitely feels like Pep is managing his minutes right now so that he does not aggravate his injury all over again. But yeah, Sergio Aguero, this man needs no introduction. One of the best goals per minute in the league, does make him sort of a legend in the Premier League, and definitely a legend for Manchester City. But yeah, I'm not really going to jump on him right away. I definitely would like to give him a couple of weeks more to see how he adapts back with KDB in the mix as well, coming back to playing fitness. Right now, I think that I am going to hold Sterling and Foden. I already have two City assets, and but yeah, definitely Aguero would not. You would not want to miss out when Aguero starts firing like we've seen last year, last couple of years. Anand's love affair with Aguero, captaining him on his hat trick and 5 goals. So definitely that is at the back of my head. Uh, Talking about midfielders, I think like Akshay, you said, I really agree. Podence was also pretty unlucky. Like last game week, did get a point for clean sheet, but three could definitely have been more. Yeah, but the sad part is, or the worrying part rather, is that he's gone 3 weeks now giving blanks. Fortunately, for me, he has been on the first substitute on my bench most of the time. But yeah, looking as when I got him after game week 2, he's been blanking ever since. But yeah, with home fixtures coming against Newcastle and Crystal Palace, I feel it's worthwhile for every Podence owner to have hold on to him and give him a couple of weeks before trying to ship him out for a a cheaper midfielder like Bissouma or somebody else. And talking about home fixtures, Semedo again has given back-to-back clean sheets, and home fixtures again keep him in the running. He's only selected by 2% managers, which can essentially come to be a great differential, not only for game week 6 and 7, but also going forward as well. And I will not be really surprised if managers flock to get him into their teams, should they not have Saiz or any other Wolf defenders already. Anand, your differential picks going into game week 6?
I would suggest everybody to just load up on City assets. I think Mahrez could be just breathtaking this game. He's stat wise last season he was right up there with the best with KDB and even Son for the goal creation aspect. And again against West Ham, he could be one of the picks that could uh, just give you a very explosive return. Although you'd already mentioned about Aguero, uh, I still feel I think this was a rule, not rule, but I never used to rate Aguero a lot uh, in terms of FPL because I always thought I was naive, and second I was I thought that maybe spending 11 pounds or 12 pounds on a striker uh, is like kind of a waste of money. But then one of our dear friends, Amit Sarkar, advised me, or rather told me, you know what, Aguero is fit, he should be a first name. He never followed it again, but somehow that line stuck with me. And the moment he is fit, I always try to get him in. And even now, so I have Bamford in my team, Watkins in my team, um, and Jimenez. So I was really considering Aguero and especially shipping out Bamford because Phillips is injured and Phillips is really integral to Leeds United. So I just somehow feel that if I can do that, that would be like worth. But I think I really like the Shea Adams pick. Adams, he scored in the last match. He's somebody who's really cheap as well and going under the radar because of his price drops. Uh, so that is somebody that I feel can have a decent season, especially because South. One thing I've understood is that he has a really great link up play with Danny Ings, and probably he can benefit from that. Maybe he's somebody that you can, uh, honestly speaking, he's somebody that I would not advise you to have in your team until unless you are short of funds. If you are short of funds, there are really not many strikers to choose when it comes to 5.8 pounds. Maybe Bamford is a probability that you can add him in your team, but with Phillips' injury, I feel Leeds might struggle, but we never know. Let's see what happens with Leeds. Regarding defenders, I think I'm really excited about Telles. He looked really sharp against PSG, and there's this good feeling uh, about about somebody from the left wing playing for United and giving those crosses constantly. And with his performance, uh, I feel Oli would give him a debut against Chelsea in the Premier League. So that is I feel it could be a really good differential punt for everybody, 1% owned. And these are the players, if you really want to bring them in, why not get them early? Why to wait for them to haul first and then to get them? I mean, if you believe that they have the quality, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Telles also, I felt that enabled Luke Shaw to play really well in his new position, but definitely worth waiting and watching if Ole does give him his debut, which I think he's definitely deserved of, given the way he crosses the ball into the D box from the corners, which I have not seen United do for a very long time. But with that said, Akshay, what are your differential picks that you feel are you might go ahead with in game week 6?
I mean, you already see Poden, so do I need to speak about that again? I don't really think so because I have him in my team, and there's a reason for that. So his price might be a diversion. Like you might think that he's not performing with the three blanks you just pointed out. So, but I was really impressed, and I'm not sure why Nuno brought him off because clearly he was the better player out of him and Neto. So if there's a player who's sacrificed, maybe when Adama starts next week, so I think it could be Neto and not Podence, because he was really looking sharp, and Anand pointed this out in our personal chat. So he looks like Foden, and I think that's a really good analysis because those guys are like, I'm not being critical here, but they are small pocket powerhouses and really lively throughout the game. And just before the end of the first half, he almost got a goal, if not for Melier. I mean, not just Melier, he hit it straight at Melier, so that was his mistake. But he could have got a goal and in the next half as well. So I'm not removing Podence, and that is my differential pick for game week 6. Coming to Ross Barkley, so really impressed with him in that Aston Villa setup because when we know about Barkley and his time with Everton, if you remember, he was a really good FPL asset. Not just goals, he was giving assists and he was also getting bonus points. So I think he can do that with Aston Villa as well because he's getting into the box a lot more. And if you look at the stats for the shots in the box and the touches in the box, Grealish is up top, by the way, touches in the box in the entire league. So that was a stat that took me away. I'm not sure how he's managed that, but Grealish looks really good, and that could benefit Barkley as a differential. So I think Barkley could be an amazing pick at 5.9. And coming to defenders, yeah, I think Anand has spoke enough about Teles. And the first thing that I noted when he took the corner was that swerve on the corner, man. I've not seen that since a long time. So our listeners might call me premature, but that looked like David Beckham with the left foot. So I've not seen that swerve. It's been a long while, yeah. And he could get a debut at Chelsea because we might play three at the back, so he could play at left wing back, and that is what you want as an FPL asset as a defender, playing wing back and with the probability of giving you attacking returns. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and they'll definitely look forward to Telles's debut. Hopefully, we get to see him against Chelsea, who, by the way, are also leaky side, giving 3 goals, scoring 3, giving away 3. Yeah, that is how I think the game is working for Chelsea. As long as since the time that they've changed their sponsor. But yeah, with with that, we've looked at differentials, but now it's time to take a look at the cheap FPL assets who are expected to give huge returns or returns in game week 6. So when I look at cheapies, I personally have now shifted to playing three strikers instead of two, and hence personally I don't really like to go for the cheap striker. But for anyone who is actually looking, for me personally, my suggestion would be uh, Aston Villa for now look the team to beat. The players in the midfield are becoming a menace, and that essentially I feel like unlocks the potential for Ollie Watkins, and we saw again in his hat trick against Liverpool. He's not really given us any returns apart from that game, but definitely looking at Aston Villa, whenever their midfield and Jack Grealish per se starts playing his and their game, Ollie Watkins' potential can definitely be unlocked. And while talking about Aston Villa's midfield, John McGinn, I feel, is a great cheap option to have as your fourth or fifth midfielder. He scored one goal, given four assists, and his goals plus assists per 90 minutes is 1.25, and which actually make him a great asset, and he's only behind Son, Bruno and James Rodriguez from the midfield perspective in the G plus A per 90, which I think is amazing for a player from Aston Villa when you look at a cheap um, a cheap asset to give you returns consistently until unless Aston Villa do actually start losing games and all. But until then, McGinn and Watkins for me are definitely the cheap FPL assets to go for from the forward and midfielder perspective. Uh, Coming to the defenders, I think Lamptey is someone who I feel like can be a great pick. A lot of people do have him already, but Brighton have been a very leaky side. They haven't kept a clean sheet yet, which is something of a shake, or maybe might give you a wake up call when you look at Lamptey, who's in your team, or if you're looking to get him in. But going forward, Lamptey looks very good. He has a goal creation action of 0.97, which is pretty great for a player of for a team like Brighton. He's given three assists, uh, and if given his favorable fixtures, he might look a great option. But definitely a cheap defender. Uh, Going into game week 6 with many teams not having a favorable fixture, I think Lamptey is the one to look. Anand, what are your cheap options for the FPL assets who you have in your team, or who do you like to back?
I have Mitchell in my team, but I think his days are over because Van Aanholt has returned. Apart from that, I really don't have any standout GP as such. Uh, this list, I think I agree with you. Aston Villa looks like really exciting, not just while attacking, defending wise as well, and that is why I really like the target pick. Uh, just wanted to add on to your Lamptey bit. So Brighton has actually kept one clean sheet. So in one of the matches, Lamptey was subbed in. Although Lamptey hasn't enjoyed any clean sheet points because he was subbed like at around 45 minutes or 60 minutes, or yes, definitely before 60 minutes. But I think the match between Newcastle and Brighton that yielded one clean sheet for them. But I definitely agree with you. Although a lot of pundits and a lot of really renowned FPL managers do think that Brighton can turn their clean sheet drought, especially because they're playing against West Brom in the next match. And stat wise, they've conceded least number of chances and all that stuff. But then uh, at the end of the day, they have conceded a lot of goals this season, and we can't deny that. And they do play a high back line, and that is something which can be exploited, as seen so far this season. Even the likes of Liverpool, because of their high back line, have struggled. So uh, I think Target is the pick that I like. Uh, Moving to the midfielders, now here is where I shift towards Trossard because he's again playing West Brom, and we have never doubted Brighton's attacking prowess. Brighton attacking wise has looked sharp. Trossard, we all know on his day he can be an explosive player. Um, Again, these are the choices. Again, I would only suggest to go for if you are short of funds because the template is already set. with loads of heavy price midfielders in that list. But yeah, Trossard looks good for me. Um, for this particular game week, it's I have been a huge supporter of Bamford when it comes to selecting a forward from the TP section. Huge supporter of Bamford so far. But like I pointed out in probably while we were discussing the differential essential section, Phillips is out, and I really don't know how. So Stroik will be coming in. He's one CP that we can look into. Stroik is just 4.0, listed as a defender in FPL, but he's definitely starting the next game week, as it has been confirmed by Bielsa. So Bielsa thinks that he is the one who will replace Phillips in midfield. So I definitely don't know how good Stroik is. Completing those transitions from defense to attack. Although Leeds, they do have an identity, and they do like to uh, they have this set pattern, and whosoever is coming into the team will definitely follow that pattern. uh, and they do have a good fixture against Aston Villa, because Aston Villa likes attacking as well, although they've looked really solid. And if by chance they are conceding chances, there is Martinez saving them at the back. So but yeah, I'm a little confused what to call about Bamford. I'll agree with you on that. Watkins is the go-to pick as of now. His stats are looking amazing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the cheap FPL assets, you always tend to be in that dilemma as to who do you pick as your final bench. Warmers generally, these players generally go to your benches. But yeah, Akshay, who do you look towards when you look at a cheap FPL asset?
So I'll just touch upon the points that you guys made. First of all, McGinn. So if you remember the double game week last season, it was game week 30 plus, and Aston Villa had a double game week. So everyone was jumping on McGinn despite him coming back from injury, because we don't really doubt his talent as a player. So he's racked up four assists, and that is surprising for me. Like looking at the numbers right now, and we've just had 5 game weeks, so people have clearly been overlooking him, looking at the ownership of just 2%, and that is where the uncertainty of him starting or getting the 90 minutes comes in, and people might write him off. So coming to Trossard, I think this could be just the perfect game for him to shine, because they face West Brom and at home as well. So he could explode in this game, because it's coming, like it's been due. And if you remember the United game and the Chelsea game, Brighton were perhaps the better side, not just against us but against Chelsea as well. So I think they could see off West Brom easily. So coming to Lamptey, yeah, as Anand pointed out, a lot of FPL managers, in fact the veterans in the FPL community, they are sticking with Lamptey, and they feel that he's not just a defender. So they are classifying him as an out of position defender, because during the game you might see patterns of play where you find Lamptey as the last line of the attack. And I remember one moment in the previous game. So there was a long ball, and Lamptey was fighting with the goalkeeper for the long ball. So I was like, what is he doing there? So that is where people get attracted to Lamptey. So coming to the latest 4.0, not 4.0 anymore, but he's the latest GP in the FPL community, and he's Kilman from Wolves. So he's got a staggering 21 points out of 2 games already, a 9 in the previous and 12 with the assist for Jimenez's goal. I'm not sure how he got that assist as well, because if you remember the goal, Jimenez was down to the right and he beat a lot of players and he came center and then a deflection. So Kilman was very lucky with the assist, you can say that. But as per the Wolves fans on Twitter, he's going to keep his place, and he just recently signed a new contract.
He's Kilman has played 2 matches so far. Can you guess how many bonuses he has got?
Could be 6 perhaps.
Yeah, he's got 6 bonus in 2 matches.
Like that's amazing. I think that is something with FPL. So we've discussed this earlier as well regarding the bonus points. So what FPL does is, players who are priced less and they tend to perform, they get more bonus points. So that is where Kilman gets you the nod ahead of someone like a Bowley or a Size, because people are still not certain about Size's position with Markal and Nouri in that team. So you cannot go wrong if you just put him in place of Mitchell for Anand's case, because Mitchell's honeymoon is going to get over really soon with Van Arnold back, and some people were thinking that Van Aanholt might play out of position, but I think Mitchell has been caught out of position in some of the defensive transitions for Crystal Palace, and he's been personally responsible for some of the errors that he's conceded. So I think he's losing his place to Van Aanholt. So that could be a straight replacement for Mitchell owners, with Kilman showing the signs that he's doing right now. And coming back to Calvin Phillips and Leeds, I think this was just perhaps the best fixture for a player like Calvin Phillips, coming up against a show boy like Jack Grealish. So you can just think that in your head right now, and Calvin Phillips hitting Grealish left, right, center. But that is not going to happen. And as Anand pointed out, I think Leeds are a well-drilled side. So no matter who replaces him, it could be Stoic, it could be Dallas as well. And because we have
It is
injury
confirmed.
concerns.
It is confirmed though. Struik is coming in for sure.
Okay.
Dallas,
So what
yeah,
happens is, I think Cooper, he went off in the last game as well in the warm-ups. So
yeah.
he's still struggling with his injury. So Stoic could slot in at centre back and Dallas could move into midfield. You never know. So I think Calvin Phillips' injury is a huge blow for Leeds going forward into the season. So we just hope he comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. Speedy recovery to him as well as Virgil van Dijk as well. Both of them out. Virgil definitely for a very long time. Yeah, with that, I think we've covered all of the FPL assets to look forward to for game week 6. And just to quickly close up this episode, we are now going to look at all of our teams and what our transfer plans are going into game week 6. So yeah, with my team, I after having a great game week for the first time ever, it's a battle between the head and the heart. My head says not to take a -4 hit, but my heart says let's just do it. So I'm actually looking at getting in Kane, and for him, I don't really have any money in the bank. I need to free up a lot of cash. So I think Timo Werner might have to make way, and Phil Foden might have to make way for Kane. But given how City's form and can just skyrocket, that is something that I'm battling with. Is will it be worth getting rid of Phil Foden for Harry Kane? But given that Spurs, the way that they have been playing, and the next three fixtures are really good, and as the
I think
famous
if you're really looking for funds, why not remove Reece James?
Yeah, actually, but the problem is, even if I go ahead and remove Reece James, I don't think I'll have enough money to get in another defender. I think I'll be left with, I think, 3.5 or something like that, and you really
Okay.
can't get any other assets. So this is why it's a battle between the head and the heart. But yeah, if I actually do intend to go through with the transfers, either I'll save a free transfer this week, or else I'll get in Kane for Timo Werner, and Phil Foden will have to make way, sadly, for some any other midfielder, which I've not really thought of. Might
And
go
what are
for
your
your
thoughts
team.
on James Rodriguez, considering Ancelotti just mentioned that he's ruled out for the game?
I mean, I personally will not like to part ways with him because I'm not aware as to how long is he going to likely sit out. If he won't play the next game week, that is when I think I might have to ship him out, given that the chances of his price falling are really will skyrocket when a lot of people start panic selling him. But definitely, if he's only out for one game week, I'd suggest everybody else to hold on to him, bench him. I don't know, maybe start him and have a uh, you know, for me, in my case, Podence as the first substitute, because you never know after what Mourinho did to me personally with Son. I don't really want to trust any manager as of now. Yeah, that is my plans for this game week. Akshay, what are you going ahead with for game week 6?
So if you see a certain Young Min Son in the team, he's made his way into my team finally, and I am now on the 50% club which owns him and not the other way around. So really happy to be there finally, because Greenwood, he is injured right now, and Ollie hasn't been clear about his injury, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. So no point holding Greenwood, and I had a lot of funds to make that switch straight away. And I'm really happy that I did not jump in on James Rodriguez, because that was also on my head, taking a -4 and going for James Rodriguez. But thankfully, I did not make that switch really early. Uh, I had -4 in mind. Anand knows that really well. So I am not sure I'm going to do that right now because the only -4 that I had in mind was removing Reece James. So right now I can go away with playing Justin because although Leicester are not looking good, but I don't think Arsenal have that in them to score 3-4 past Leicester. And holding Pulisic for now, although I do hope that he does not score against United, but I'm keeping him for the long run. And he's one of the Chelsea players who really impressed me after the lockdown, as I spoke in the previous episode as well. So currently holding that, and I think staying away from Burnley is the wiser move right now, because if you remember Son's goal last season against Burnley, the goal of the season, he could do that again with that Burnley defense. And Kane, he's delivering balls from almost everywhere, like Wayne Rooney used to do in his later stages of the United career. And I think Kane has proved his doubters wrong. Really happy to see the Kane of 2016-17, if I'm not wrong, when he was scoring goals for fun. And I was watching the FPL Black Box yesterday with Mark Southerns and AZ from FFS Scout. So those guys were discussing Kane's 2016-17 season and this season, and you'd be really surprised, but his numbers are better right now. So Kane is a player who I really fear not owning right now with the fixtures you just mentioned. So he has Burnley away, Brighton at home, and West Brom away. You could see double-digit hauls in all three games, and that is why I did not think twice before bringing Son in. So Son is currently in my team, and going with Salah for captaincy because I think this is the game for Salah to score a hat trick, and people are even considering the triple captainship. So you can see the craziness there. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking about craziness and differentials and a lot of money in the bank account, Anand Sindhu, what are your plans for game week 6? Do you plan on spending that money that you've saved up in your account?
I'll just ask him first of all: is Zaha going to be a captain again, or are you just fooling our listeners with that?
Uh, I have 7.7 million in the bank. Okay, and
What?
that's
You can only pick 50. You don't have to pick 16 players, Anand.
so I honestly speaking, I just at the moment I've like become like a miser kind of a person. Okay, the moment I'm trying to think about spending those 7.7 on Aguero, I'm like, I'll just have 3 million left if I spend it on Aguero. So I'm pretty enjoying keeping a lot of money because this money sorts of kind of acts like a wild card for me. I remember yes in yesteryears, if I wanted to make a big change, I had to make a couple or triple changes in my
Yeah.
squad to adjust people. And because I played my wild card in game week 2, I already knew that I have to come with some kind of tactic where, uh, if I have money in the bank, that is what I thought. If I have money in the bank, making a switch will be very, very easy for me. So that
Absolutely.
was the thought process behind it. And I've already discussed that I'm considering Bamford out and Aguero in. It is a lot of people are advising me not to. They're saying if you really want to spend, why don't you go with Harry Kane? You guys
Same
have already
question.
mentioned, especially you, Akshay, about how it's better to stay away from Burnley defense. I don't know how that's gonna be because Pope was in stellar form
Yeah.
in the last match. He looked really good. He again got 3 bonus. So we do have good memories of Pope from the last season. Yeah,
Nick
I
Pope
mean,
FC.
yeah, that's something
I
that
think we become more like Emi Martinez FC now because all three of us have him.
Also,
Absolutely.
you'll be surprised. People who do not follow FPL or do not play FPL, the likes of Suraj, our senior from college, what he mentioned was like from a layman's term, just football perspective. What he said was City will keep on knocking West Ham's doors. I mean, it's a given thing, right? Like Tottenham might bamboozle Burnley for the first 30 minutes, 35 minutes, but City will just keep coming back for the entire 90 minutes. Now the only question here is, will Aguero play those 90 minutes? Now that's like a huge risk. Uh, Pep Guardiola, I think Kshitij was the one who mentioned this. Pep Guardiola is managing his minutes. Uh, are those 60 minutes good enough, to get that big haul or that explosive haul from Aguero? Is that good enough? So that is somewhere where I'm considering. Another friend of ours, Randeep, great cricket player, also a great FPL player. He told me uh, that Aston Villa will concede. I don't know what is the intuition, but I think he believes in Leeds, and we all have seen that Leeds have been attacking. They're really lively and they don't want to back down. So Bamford again, but Phillips not playing is just okay. So what I really thought was, what do you suggest, guys? Like I'm considering Aguero. What do you think? Because I can think whatever, but it's really important sometimes to have second opinions. Starting with Kshitij, what do you think? Uh, if I have to take a minus or a hit, or say or -8, who do you think I should replace in this team?
I personally feel that having somebody like having so much money in your account that you can do a direct swap from Bamford to the likes of Aguero or Harry Kane is first of all pretty amazing. For me, Sergio Aguero has still not yet cut it. He still needs, personally from my perspective, needs a couple of games. But again, with Aguero, you never know. 60 minutes might just be enough for him to actually score. But that being said, I feel currently, given the form and the fixtures that are upcoming, I definitely feel that Harry Kane to Bamford would be a great choice.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think Bamford to Kane should be the right move right now because I've already spoken to you about Bamford not being the regular for Leeds going forward, and with so many injuries in that Leeds squad, so this could be the right time for Rodrigo to step in into the team, and he looked good in the last game as well. He had a few chances, so I think Bamford is someone like there was one tweet that I was reading on Twitter the other day that you should focus your transfers on not the players you want to bring in, but the players you want to remove. So if you look at the team and the obvious weak link into your team is Patrick Bamford up front, and when you have that money, 7.7, like it's a really good position to be because you can make straight swaps to any player in any price bracket, and you should use that luxury and get in Kane because his ownership is rising every day. His price is rising almost every day, and he could be out of your reach soon, despite having 7.7. Because you don't want to waste all your funds on Harry Kane on just one move. So I think this is the right time
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
jump
agree.
on Harry Kane.
Don't you guys think I should upgrade my defense instead? Because I have Justin, Saiz, Mitchell, Airing.
I, for one, personally don't think this is the season to go heavy on your defense. I've seen Akshay, have both Trent and Robertson with not getting enough returns like we used to last couple of seasons. So for me personally, I don't think going heavy on defense is the answer, at least for now, given at the rate penalties are being conceded and teams are scoring goals.
Yeah. Also,
Good point.
you don't have the straight switches in defense. Like if you want to remove, say Justin, do you have a defender in mind that you want to upgrade to? I don't think so. You might have a few options, but you're not really sure. But when you look at Bamford and you want to remove him, all of a sudden you have so many options that you are spoiled for choices. That is
Yeah.
when you should decide on attacking returns and forget about the defenders. I think. Yeah.
I think the differential defender list that you mentioned, I think it looks like a really solid list going forward. But I do agree, as of now, it's, we are not sure how they're going to fare in the long run. And I do understand the points about getting in Harry Kane. But yeah, really thankful guys that I'll really will keep your opinions closer to my head and heart both, and I'll probably make my decision based on that. Yeah, great discussion, guys.
A great discussion indeed. And as always, I mean, when you look at your squad in FPL perspective, never ever does it happen that all of your questions are answered or you go into a game week completely fulfilled with your team. But yeah, that is the name of the game. And with that, we come to an end of yet another episode. Akshay and Anand, as always, it has been a pleasure. We really love to thank all of our listeners and supporters that they keep tuning in and keep blessing us with all of their support. Please do go follow us on all of the social media channels. Our links are in the description. I hope we've been able to bring value to you and from the FPL asset perspectives and going into game week 6. Uh, Thank you. It was really lovely bringing another episode your way. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and have a good one. May the arrows be green.